Who the fuck y'all hoes think run this shit? Miss she, her black vagina designer. All you ladies Gucci, Prada print. All you ladies eat, I'm a condo rich. Big Dolce, Diva, Donda, Dada, Tokyo, Honda drip. All you ladies is tweaking, hoes is geeking. All you ladies be popping Dolce C's. All you ladies be sauna, new vagina. All you ladies back, but I'm still gon' get that. All you ladies got quaking, hoes is pissed. All you ladies mistaken, I'm that bitch. All you ladies got frozen, cue the Trojans. All you ladies go, I'ma get. All you ladies pop like this. All you ladies pop. Shake your body, don't stop, don't miss. All you ladies pop like this. All you ladies pop. Shake your body, don't stop, don't miss.
Your heart, is there any room for me? I won't have to hold my breath till you get down on one knee. Because you only want to hold me when I'm looking good enough. Did you ever fool me? Would you ever picture us? Every time I pull my hair out with any outfit, but you'll find me ugly and one day you'll disappear. Because what's the point of crying? It was never even enough. Did you ever want me? Was I ever good enough? Good boys are later, good boys are later. He doesn't see her. You're not looking at me, boy. Good boys are later, good boys are later. He doesn't see her. You're not looking at me, boy, 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 boy.
Oh my God, it's DJ Price is Right.
so poppy. Ya tú sabes.
Four, 3, 2, 1, go.
Frequency Friday.
Hello.
Where's our view? Where are we at, babe? Over here.
We've got
Welcome, welcome. We're on with Frequency Fridays. Remember, we're your weekly live show for the curious, where we're exploring everything. Last week we were talking to DJ Price is Right about his music, his upbringing, and today we are going to have a very special guest. We'll dive into that. We are going to do an experiment at the end of the show, so stick with us because we are always into, I think it's really important that we focus on testing things ourselves. So when we explore different topics, ideas, when we talk about the mind, when we talk about manifestation, we are not highlighting manifestation in the woo-woo bullshit sense that is kind of like bubbled in the past 2 decades. We are linking it to science and exploring if it is real, if it's not. So we're gonna get into that. That's why we have the rice out, we have our jars. That's the experiment for later. But we start the show off with a tea. So we're gonna have tea. We have DJ Price in there. He has blessed us. He is playing our music for today. And then when we go in there, remember at 10 a.m. we're gonna do some breath work, so that's in like 15 minutes. And then we're going to give you some nuggets on breath work. I think it's really important to understand the why behind the things that we do. I personally never realized that there was a right way to breathe. So we'll dive into all of those little crevices. And then the topic of today is the mind. So we are going to explore the mind through different lenses, different perspectives, and really get a holistic perspective, ideas on how you can look at the mind. I think it's important that we don't cram ourselves into one corner or one-way track of thinking, and we instead just look at the palette of ideas and perspectives that we can explore, and then we will go down that, and we're going to have an expert on to talk about the mind and how it's influenced him and how he's seen it influence others. So we're going to get into that. We're going to get to the tea, and then we're going to bring it to the good price. Obviously, we have our Palo Santo here, which is a big thing for us. You got to set the vibe. I think it's really important we set the vibe. I'll bring this over.
Yeah, bring the tea over. We'll pour in. Be careful, it's hot. We'll be in the room, so come follow us to the studio. Wait, stand by. Oh, we can turn Price up.
Are waiting for our producer.
Okay, mics are on.
So we are going to pour the tea here because our producer just yelled at us.
No,
the voice of God, the voice of God is very serious when it comes to the shots.
Whoa, you're so tall.
So
Taylor's a tall
everyone
girl.
always says that, and I'm like, not even. Am I really that tall? I'm only 5'10".
I'm just looking at this shot over there, and I just.
Oh, I guess. Well,
but you're standing.
I
on
often
it, too.
see the tops of people's heads.
Yeah, you literally. I don't think you've ever looked me in the face.
I like have this swapped out.
Yeah.
So we're pouring some beautiful tea here.
We got some Earl Grey again today because there's only 3 of us. Oh, well, we'll give God an offering today. God deserves his right
His tea.
of tea.
We will give God his tea.
So today we have another nice Earl Grey. Last week we had the Harney and Sons. Today we have a classic old Twinnings.
Twinnings.
Wait,
Shout out to
I'll put this
Twinnings.
on God's plate. Shout out to Twinnings.
Shout out to Twinnings.
But here we have it.
Being your tea. God. Just watch it's hot.
God
You
was
got it.
grateful for his tea.
God is
God is good.
It's on the phone, so all I have to do is screen mirror it. Do it now? Yeah. Okay. All right, I'm gonna screen mirror the phone. You can carry that by yourself. All right. You just let us know, B, when Jazz is ready to walk over. Whenever you're ready, I'm gonna go queue up the screen mirror on my phone.
So we have Price is Right today. We're gonna go take the tea over to our friends in the studio now. For real this time. Hello, friends. Madness and madness keeps attracting me.
Tea.
Tea time.
Little tea before breath work.
I'm actually excited for tea. Here you go, sir.
I
Yeah,
didn't see
like
the
you
breath
were
work
saying the
app up.
No?
No. You have to share. With,
Okay, pausing.
Pausing.
It says I'm screen sharing to the TV. No? Oh, wait, hold on. Now? Should be up now.
that's it. You got it.
Nice.
Thanks for the music, Price.
I'm getting some water, everyone.
Lively up
And then
yourself.
we are going to get to it now. Ready?
This is actually good
Is
tea.
the voice
Let's
of
have
God.
Price come over and sit by Jazz for this.
Yeah?
Okay. So we are getting into our breath work, and I realized
Chin
that
chin.
last week we didn't really
Cheers,
go
love.
into why breath work is important. So I want to dive into why breath work is
Here, we
important
can move
because
the
so many of
flowers
us
off
do
to
it
the side.
subconsciously,
Yeah, put it-
and
just put the
we're
flowers
not
in the
thinking
corner so that we
actively
can
that
see it.
our breath is directly tied to our longevity and our health. So it's actually really interesting. Sorry, I think the shot's on. He can hear us, but we're not on the view yet. We're queued up on the breath. So I was just explaining how I didn't really go into why breath work was important last time. So breath work is super important, and it's actually really interesting. I was looking at a tweet. A tortoise lives to like 150 years, and they take about 4 breaths per minute. Whereas I think it was a mouse, lives less than a year, and they take over, I think it was like over 100 breaths per minute. So your breath is directly linked to your longevity and your health and how it can affect you. So also, we have a book on the table, Breath by James Nestor. And when I was first gifted this, I was like, what the hell? Like, the new science of a lost art? Well, let me tell you something. The average human takes 27,000 breaths per day. And most of us do not breathe properly. I didn't even know that there was a right way to breathe. But you have to breathe through your nose. That's why we have nose hairs, everyone. So there's a reason for everything in the body. And we have to breathe using our diaphragm. Now, I'm no expert. We will bring on breathwork experts, but that's the reason why at 10 a.m. we do our little breathwork session, because we're highlighting the importance of breathing and actually using all of the tools that our body has given us to help ourselves. It's a really interesting perspective shift when you start to focus on your breath in a way that's intentional, and understanding that your breath is now directly correlated to your health. So even related to your nervous system. So you cannot focus or be calm if your nervous system and your emotions are hyperactive. And we live in such a state of being and presence where we are constantly inundated with signals and noise, and always something is trying to get our attention. But when we look at that, like always poking and trying to get our attention and correlating it to the same way our nervous system reacts, we're so reactive being. We're always, hyperactive, stimulated, overstimulated. We're having coffee, doing all the things in our day, and we don't realize that our breath can actually help us control our central nervous system and what our body is emoting and doing. So our breath is a tool that we can use to kind of regulate our emotions, help us calm down. I use it when, I am in a situation and something like upsets me, or I immediately want to react with anger. I take that moment and I pause and I take a deep breath. And sometimes that just 1 second of pause is the difference between the flight or the fright, and just like how you are reacting in the present moment. So use it as a tool. Coherence, again, is the app that we use by Jack and Nick Sweeney. I highly recommend it. We are going to go into the sync. As you can see, it's starting in 3 minutes, and the intention today is peace. So there are a few people here in the chat you could see online, and then you can actually see, I love this, like a little map at the bottom where all of the people have been syncing in from all over the world. So we are syncing in from Brooklyn, New York, and it looks like there are people all over in the US, in South America, in Europe, Australia. So it's really awesome to see that there is an application that can help people tune in. And I really love the whole concept of the daily syncs, where the mission is to get people to breathe together and to breathe as one. We're going to dive into this with our guest on today, Dr. Igor Nazarov. He's got a lot of credentials, so before I get into that, but we will dive into how breath and like breathing as one relates to consciousness, and how we talk a lot about unity and like being one. It's one thing to think in a hive mind, meaning you don't think for yourself, but it's another layer when you also look at unity in the sense of community coming together. And the communities that last the longest can have difficult conversations and have in a respectful kind way. That's why, that's our breath work alarm. We got 1 minute and 54 seconds. But that's why the communities that have last the longest are built on these values of respect, kindness, and that's why they're not thinking the same. People don't have the same opinions, but you can foster our highest and best self through those difficult conversations. So when I say unity, I don't mean think like everyone else. I mean, think for yourself, be you, but understand that we're a community. Like when you look at someone, I mean, I've been around people that are murderers, people that appear to be saints. And one thing is for sure, everyone has a heart and a mind, and how someone presents themselves in that present moment is how I've chosen to take them. Do I agree with certain decisions people have made? No, because you're not going to agree with every opinion and every decision and every action that someone takes. But it's really important that we look at each other and we break down these barriers of like all the division, the race, what religion you practice, all of these different topics that are pushed in our face to divide us. So break those barriers, use your breath, use community to center yourself, to ground yourself, and really be the highest and best version that you can present yourself in this day. And if it doesn't happen in that moment, take a breath and begin again. It's one of my favorite phrases in yoga, begin again. If you fall off your mat, if you fall out of a pose, if you mess up, it's okay. Take a moment, breathe, and begin again. We're gonna start breath work in 20 seconds. And this intention is peace. You don't have to specifically think of peace, but that's what the intention for today is. And we got 10 seconds, and then we're gonna go into a little breath work. Let me enter the lobby. We are now breathing. We're gonna get one last breath in, and then we are going to begin. B Money, voice of God. Do we want to go on to our background, and then we will get going to the topics that we are going to get into today whenever you're ready. Oh, my phone's still going on.
This one?
That's perfect. We could do that.
This is good.
So today, thank you everyone. We're gonna have Price. Price is gonna continue to play some tunes for us. So
Yes.
we will have some light background music. I think it's really important that we look at every day as a chance to craft our environment. And that means the smells that you're smelling in your house. I'm a big candle lady. We can get into how candles have an impact on you and your smell and your sensory system, and how actually there are some candles that are bad for you. Like, candles can be bad for you. So that's a whole nother conversation. But incense, candles, I love setting the tone with these different scents, whether that's music, like I said, the taste, whether you're gonna offer someone essential oils. We have amazing essential oils by doTERRA, so we'll get into all of these little crevices of the world we will explore. But today's topic is the mind, and I'm so excited to get into the mind because I believe that if you can't change your perspectives in life and you can't have an open voice of God, can we put the music slightly down in here? In the perfect.
Perfect.
So I think it's really important that we look at the mind in a way that is something that's malleable. Neuroplasticity is huge. So I have a couple of resources to bring up. We're gonna share some things with you. I wanted to start also with a little fun fact. that I stumbled across over the week. So apparently, this Monday at 8 p.m. is the last time the sun will set at 8 p.m. or later until May 9th, 2027. So cherish every moment, because after Monday, the sun is gonna set in the 7s, and then it gets
The 6s,
and then it goes
the
in the
5s,
6s,
it
and
might as well
then-
be 4 p.m.
and then we're gonna do it all over again next year. So just a little nugget there.
I did see that.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's funny how the world works. Like when you think about the dawn and the dusk and how the night falls at like certain times.
Well,
and
we
how-
have the privilege of like living through all 4 seasons out here on
True.
the East Coast of the United States, on the Northeast. So I think that gives us perspective on like the movement of the world. But you know, when you're like close to the equator, like every day is summer,
I mean,
and you're far from it. Every
Pardon me,
day is
Taylor?
winter.
talk to me.
Can we ask you to take control of with your computer?
I literally was just about to do that. I am
It's
trying
like
to
you're reading my
screen
mind,
share.
man.
I don't know.
God is
I'm literally loading this. Thing.
giving us direction right now. Tea's good, right?
Tea is good, dude.
The tea is
Can you
hot and
see?
piping.
We are trying to load.
Price,
my
how are you
computer
doing
screen
over
because
there?
I am going. We're going to walk through just some links. We are going to explore the mind together. We don't know everything, but we are going to just show you different
Let's mute
lenses.
your computer right now, too.
You-
The audio. Thank you.
Wait, what?
We're doing some technical things. I am screen mirroring. So we are going to look at the mind through different lenses. I stumbled into this tweet that is up here by Parker Worth. And I'm sure you all can read, but if you're on audio here, I'm going to read you the tweet that I stumbled into, and we're just going to discuss it a little bit. Parker says, "This may seem like woo-woo nonsense, but if you want to alter the world around you, then you need to do this. Every day for the past 3 months, I've written in cursive the story of my future self. I write over and over that I already have lived. I write over and over that I already have the life I want. More clients, more income, more success. And guess what? Everything I write freaking happens. Do with this information what you want, but there is something powerful behind scripting your own future." And then he posts his story here. I think this is what fascinates me. So maybe 10 years ago, I would have seen this and I would have literally thought this is woo-woo nonsense bullshit. I can actually attest to this. I have something similar to Parker where over the course, I think for the past 4 years, every year I'll do goals. And it's not like I have these goals posted on my wall, but then when I do my year review, almost everything in those goals happens. And it's like setting the subconscious up. And I think that is what is important about the mind, is the mind needs to remain focused on, one thing or a few things at once. But in the background, it's playing so many different programs, from what the music you have on or not, from the tunes or the news or the TV or the whatever you are listening to in the background. It could be the ocean waves, it could be a fan, whatever that is. Know that every single sense is picking up on these different elements around you, and it's important that when you could do something like Parker's talking about and you're able to write and some would call this manifestation. I think manifestation has been a blown up term it's been in the mystical light for the past couple decades, but what I've learned when you really think about what manifestation is, it is really moving the energetic elements that we have the ability to move. And what I mean by that is we can go into the science behind your mind being able to shift and make things happen. That's a part of our experiment later. We are going to do and maybe debunk the rice experiment because we don't know what the outcomes are going to be. We're going to last about 2 weeks. We will walk you through it, but We are going to do a little experiment to see how the mind, how our words actually impact matter, and how matter can be a small ripple, or it could be a tidal wave, it could be a tsunami in terms of the ocean. So what Parker here is describing is not woo-woo nonsense, and our expert or our guest on at 11 a.m., we are going to dive into why something like this is possible in terms of physics, in terms of molecular science, and why it is not woo-woo nonsense, as Parker is highlighting, because he's a living proof that something like writing down what you want, rewriting your story daily, weekly, can have an impact and can change the trajectory of your life. So it's also, when we talk about mind, we talked about perspective. If you can shift your perspective on something like this, I am a testament to this. I thought this was woo-woo bullshit until I went down the rabbit holes of why something like this could be possible. After I was dismissing it, I dropped my ego and was like, how can this be possible if so many people over so many centuries, almost essentially since human time, has been able to, record and do manifestation principles and talking about how their mind has been impacted. Voice of God, we don't have any music. Price can't play. Or is that you or him?
No, it's
Even if it's little,
I'll be right
like
back.
low. Don't freak out on me. Voice of God.
there we go.
Price has control.
Price has control.
Also, I'm uncomfortable with my title.
You're uncomfortable with it?
So,
Wait, is the feed on Taylor right
this
now?
was one example here of Parker. So I think it's really important that you
Should
can
I
just
be
find
sitting
examples
here?
like
She's
this
not
throughout your life. And if you don't believe it, I think the best way to debunk something is to just
Well, yeah, and
experiment,
also it's
do it
almost
yourself.
10:30, so
I
wanna move my
learned
car.
what I did and did not like, mostly what I don't like, to come to what I like through doing things.
No,
I was
no.
in construction. I didn't want to be in construction for the rest of my life, but I needed to understand
Okay.
how things were built and how you can correlate building a house, building a building, to building yourself. It starts with a strong foundation. You can have the most sexy, beautiful house on the outside, but if you walk inside and your walls are made of not great wood, they're made of not great sheetrock, that all has an impact. So it all relates to linking it back and looping it back to the mind and experience and doing. And back to what Price said last week, half of it's showing up, but a lot of it is just getting into it. Just start it, just get to it. And same thing goes for this. If you don't believe we're not asking you to believe anything. We're not saying that this is 100% fact. All we're asking you is just to open your mind. Open your mind, digest this nugget, process it, and again, go on your own rabbit holes, explore for yourself. And I think that is the core message of just life, is honestly, it's for the curious. So be curious, don't be afraid to question things and to go find yourself down these different rabbit holes. We're also going to talk about another important element of how the mind and why the mind is so powerful. We are going to pull up, I don't know if anyone has ever heard of this guy, Wim Hof. He is, some would say, a crazy man, but he is a prime example of what you could do using your breath, using focused intention to help elevate yourself so much that this guy actually is in his underwear climbing mountains, okay? Do you see this? It's not the best high def, but okay, there you go. He's in swim shorts in the middle of winter in the snow. And Wim, one of the fascinating things about Wim is he actually trains people to do this too. He trains you how to use your breath, use focused intention, use your mind. Don't you love YouTube ads? Use focused intention, use your breath to help elevate yourself and take yourself to new levels. It's honestly so expanding as a human being when you realize that these things, okay, they're like going through their breathwork session, that these things are possible. This is just the edge of what humans can truly, truly do. They're in the sauna, they take shots in the sauna. And look at him. This is an example of what Wim Hof can do. So he actually has a documentary on Vice called,
I like this transition.
here you go, The Superhuman World of Wim Hof, the Iceman. Highly recommend you check that out. It's got over 10 million views 11 years ago. It was created. So Wim is he's just one of those people that has experienced trauma. He lost his wife, and through that loss, he relied on his breath. So instead of becoming an addict, a drug addict and like an addict towards something negative, he became addicted to his breath and how he can use his breath and his mind to elevate himself so that he wasn't stuck in that place of turmoil and heartbreak. It's not that he's forgetting what happened to him and what happened and like losing his wife, but he was able to transform the pain into light. Loss into light, I think, is a huge core lesson that a lot of us can look at people like Wim and say, okay, that looks crazy, but he went through something unbelievable, losing a spouse in his life to elevate himself to a new level and essentially transcend dimensions and transcend what some people think about the human body and what we're actually capable of. The mind is such a fascinating, complex organ that we have studied for just a few decades, and we still are we cannot even comprehend the questions that we still need to answer about the brain and how can people like, I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with, I love this, Kai Dickens, the telepathy tapes. This is a great podcast. So this woman, Kai Dickens, she is, I believe she was a journalist, and she essentially was on trying to find what she was going to research next. And she came across people who cannot speak. They can only speak through, I'm not sure the proper terminology for it, but like on a board. So like using a board, pointing out to letters. What she discovered was these people that are nonverbal actually talk telepathically. And it is called the telepathy tapes. B, is my screen on?
Yes, we're sharing your screen. I can put it up behind you.
Oh, sorry. No, I just want to make sure. So this is the telepathy tapes by Kai Dickens. Again, it's a fascinating podcast. She basically visits families that have nonverbal kids, people living with them, and they recount how the family discovered that their child was telepathic. For example, there was one family, the child was nonverbal, and the mother was reading a book, and the child was basically able to read the book through the mother's eyes. And that is just one small little nugget example of how nonverbal, in this case, people that are nonverbal actually have this telepathic communication. And it links to the mind. How is it even possible? From what I now know and what I'm learning in the science world, everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. Nikola Tesla, it's a famous quote by Nikola Tesla. If you want to find, I think, the keys, or if you want to find, the real, let's look. Nikola Tesla quotes about energy, frequency, vibration. We're exploring together today. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. I don't think this quote could be any more true, especially when we're talking about something like the telepathy tapes, when we talk about the mind. Reason being, energy, frequency, and vibration, it seems like really big words that just belong in science. But when you take those words out of science, energy, frequency, vibration, it's something that actually runs our body, and it's something that we experience every day. Kids nowadays, myself included, we're throwing around the vibe. Oh, you're a good vibe. This is a good vibe. Vibe is a short word for vibrations. So what we're doing when we're walking into a room, when we're listening to music, when you interact with someone, you're interacting with these frequencies, these vibrations that are being emitted from another living entity, from another living form, whether that's music, whether that's movies. It's why concerts make people move in a certain way. It's why movies make people emote. You're not the people experiencing something that's happening in a movie, but you're crying in the same way as if you were experiencing it. It's because you're resonating with what's going on energetically on a molecular level in that movie. And I think that is directly correlated to what's going on in the telepathy tapes, meaning these nonverbal kids are actually tapping into another dimension, another layer of life that is essentially like a radio station. So when we listen to radio, you have AM, FM, and there's a bunch of stations in the AM sphere and the FM sphere. And you can tune into those different stations, and depending on how close you are to the signal, sometimes the signal is staticky, and sometimes the signal comes in really clear. And I think that is a highlight of what is going on telepathically with these nonverbal kids. And I also want to say, maybe I'll get canceled for this, but what Kai Dickens highlighted with this community and through this series is a very similar thing that is going on with mediums and psychics. Now, I think there are some mediums and psychics that are bullshit, and I think you need to have your bullshit radar up for everything in this world. Just like anything, you can find a bad contractor, you can find a bad DJ, but we don't have that problem. You can find a bad phone, whatever it is, there's bullshit everywhere. But I think it's really important to look at how potentially this telepathic, what's going on in the nonverbal world, and how they're able to use telepathy to communicate and to receive signals is the same way that mediums, psychics are able to channel the other side. And some people call that channeling, people that have passed over. Some people can channel pets. I'm very big into this the spiritual community. I was brought up religious, brought up Catholic, went to an all-girls Catholic high school, but really that didn't have the answers for me, which moved me into more of a spiritual sense. I definitely believe in God and that there's a higher universal power that is indescribable, but I think that is this invisible blueprint related to this invisible blueprint that people can tap into telepathically, whatever word you use. Telepathy, channeling. Is there any other words maybe that people use to explain what is going on here? But I really highly recommend this podcast episode, this podcast series, because it's a very enlightening account of real life examples of really, the whole time I was listening to this, it gave me the chills because I actually have an amazing friend. Shout out to my girlfriend, Ali Guerra, for introducing me to her brother-in-law. He is a fascinating and one of the sweetest, most inspiring people that I know. His name is Frankie Canavy. Shout out to Frankie. He's nonverbal. I think he is now like 30, but he has developed plays, he's written books. He helps out in the football world, and I've talked to him before and his brother PJ about some of the experiences that they've shared. And when you talk about someone that is in the nonverbal community but is able to resonate with what's going on in the telepathy tapes, it's a real life account of real world. How the hell is that possible? If we couldn't tap into it and we weren't aware of something like this, there would be limits on what we think we could do as a human being, and what our mind and our body is truly capable of. So I wanted to highlight the telepathy tapes. Oh my gosh, everyone is seeing. So we're getting personal here. You're seeing my full-on Spotify. And we dove into Parker, and we dove into this. And this is actually Nick is the creator of Coherence, the breathwork thing that we do at 10. And he is the one that enlightened me to that little breathwork fact about tortoises and mouse. Oh, mouse actually breathe 109 times per minute. So you could see how the breath is directly correlated to longevity here, which is really fascinating when we think about all these different elements that can impact our lives and how we show up daily. So at 11, we are going to dive in with our physicist, Igor, and I'm really excited for that. Now I'm gonna pull up this other, I want to go into TED. So in this video, in this TED Talk here, we get a really enlightening and holistic perspective on how our guts and our brain, our gut and our brain actually are directly correlated and linked and talk to each other. So they're connected by a nerve called the vagus nerve. And it's relatively early on when the baby is developing in the womb that the vagus nerve is actually created. I think it's like right after the brain. I want people to correct me if I'm wrong, but it's right after the brain that the vagus nerve is actually created in the womb. And that is the connection to the gut. And it's when we talk about, I felt this before, when you get butterflies. So when you get butterflies and you feel that feeling of like fluttering in your stomach, it is, what's actually happening is your mind is sensing and picking up on an experience that is creating a feeling in our bodies. And that's also the same way that we can think of energy and kind of correlating it back to the telepathy tapes. When we're experiencing and receiving these signals and these senses, our brain is decoding and processing this information and trying to help. It's important for that signal in our body to be cohesive and dancing together, because when the signal's off, that can impact how our bodies respond and the outputs that could be created from that. And when I say outputs, I mean disease, dis-ease. So when you break that word apart, we are going to get into that in future Frequency Fridays. We're going to get into disease, and we'll have medical doctors on, and we'll have all different types of healers in terms of Western, Eastern cultures. But it's when you loop that into how one can really develop and build themselves, it's something that, again, we can use as a tool to help ourselves and how our body is processing these different signals. And that's why it goes back to being conscious about your breath, being conscious about the information and the sounds that are around you, the scents that are around you, your environment. We know that nurture versus nature, but it's also how you're brought up. It's how what you're exposed to, and then also what you expose yourself to, because that could be sometimes unconscious, but it's like the habits you create. It is the little things that you do daily that can actually shift and impact your life later on. So I have to run to the bathroom, but this is a little scope of the couple different perspectives. I love that Parker, we were able to bring in Parker's example of him script writing and really crafting his own story. Actually, related to that, before I run to the bathroom, Zach Bush, I actually have this on my
Before you go to the bathroom, can you put up your little clipboard
Yes.
too? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. So there, I actually have a podcast. I have playlists for like my podcasts. I am going love. All right, I'm just gonna pull Zach Bush story. Can I pull this? Yes. I listened to this podcast and I was freaking fascinated. Zach Bush wants you to let go of your story. So I first listened to this, I guess like right around when it did come out in 2019. But in this podcast episode, Zach Bush kind of highlights that you could go your whole life telling yourself a story. And sometimes when you tell yourself this story from an experience that happened, you can embellish it. You can add more emotions or less emotions than what you experienced in that moment. And essentially the core of Zach's message is the more you tell yourself these stories of, I was bullied as a kid, I was bullied as a kid, I was bullied as a kid. You continuously keep telling yourself these stories of experiences that have happened in your life, you will never grow until you shift that story and you shift how you think about the story. Because without that perspective shift, you will always be stuck. It's like quicksand. It's not forgetting that you had that experience, but it's understanding that that experience happened. There were emotions felt. You need to work and move through that, but it shouldn't be the story that defines you. The story that defines you should always be your next step and your next step to help elevate yourself. And I love this podcast. Again, I recommend it. We'll put all the sources that I'm mentioning and some of the stuff that I'm showing in our show notes at the end of the episode. So you can also find on our Instagrams where we'll put some source maps up. We had last week when we had DJ Price is Right on here, we had some of his books. We listed them for purchase on Amazon and some of the topics that we brought up in the books. I think we mentioned Atomic Habits by James Clear. So stuff like that we'll always source and link to every show. And again, this is Frequency Fridays. We're a live stream happening every Friday in Brooklyn live. We are going to bring in experts. We're going to bring in people that can explore all of these different perspectives with us. It is only for the curious. It is not for the faint of heart. We only ask that you come in with an open mind and you present your best self to the world after you leave. And we are going to dive into different news sources. I have a couple different articles that I want to pull up when I come back. And
Badass information board.
And our badass information board when it comes up. So that is Frequency Fridays. Again, we'll be live every single Friday. And we are going to dive into everything from health and wellness to technology. We actually have a few friends that are going to demo some of their tech products for us. We have some friends that eventually we have some friends that we're going to plant flowers with, and we are going to learn how to plant a flower, and how to plant plants that you can actually eat, like basil, thyme, cilantro, all that fun stuff. Because like we talked about with Price last week, we need to learn how to be accountable and grow and do for ourselves. And I think it starts with the food you eat, the water, how you think about water. Shout out to Erin Brockovich, Superman's Not Coming, who completely shifted and blew my mind about how water can actually have such a negative impact. She was a huge spearhead in the Flint, Michigan whole water crisis. And she's actually advocating now against data centers and really trying to show people, just all of the different perspectives of, we see data, we want to do quicker and more and better, but how data centers and how stuff like that can actually affect human beings and life, and how one decision has a ripple effect. It's the butterfly effect, if anyone's familiar with that. It's how one action that appears small can really create a tailwind of positive and negative effects. But I'm going to close there. I can talk forever. I'm going to run to the bathroom, and we will be back with some more info, and then we will hop on with Igor. He is coming on at 11 a.m. And then right after our conversation with Dr. Igor, we will begin our experiment with the rice. You are going to see us boil the rice. We got to cook the rice. And I forget who said the rice experiment. I know the water is Masuhiro Emoto, I think, or wait, let me get that. Let me fact check how I'm pronouncing it. Water. His name is the guy that did the whole structuring water. Oh, I have to go on my phone, people, because my iPad thinks that I'm a robot. Oh, yeah, my iPad thinks I'm a robot. Structured. His name is, by Gerald Pollack, but he's the fourth phase of water, easy water. But what I am talking about is, what's his name? Masaru Emoto. He claimed that human thoughts, words, and intentions can physically change the molecular structure of water. So that's what his claim is. So we are going to disprove or prove how our thoughts affect rice, and I will get into that when I get back about the experiment a little bit right before we hop on with Igor, and then we'll dive into the experiment. And actually, you could do the experiment at home. We'll probably have the experiment last for 2 weeks, but yeah, feel free to do it at home. I will be right back and we'll get into it. Also, if anyone wants something specific on the ticker board here in the back, in our background, you could send it in the comments on the stream. Let us know if you want something. We'll throw it up for you. We'll give you a shout out. So if you want us to say like, hi Frankie, send it to us in the comments and we can make that happen. Or if anyone has a birthday or a wife or a husband that they want to shout out, we can put you up on the board.
Taylor,
So,
I'm cutting your mic so you can go to the bathroom now.
thank you. No one wants to hear my tinkle?
Skip Marley, alongside the lion in the jungle. Big Gangzilla, the youngest uncle. I know you're drunk in power, brother, that's not juice. I see you chasing meals, my brother, that's not food. When the banana peels, I tell you that's not fruit. Another brother shot down, but that's not news. Don't you fall from grace, brother, don't throw it all away. A wise man used to say, money ain't life, so take it easy. Tell me that's not true. 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 You're lying with the liars, baby, that's not you. The way you're never smiling, baby, that's not cute. I see he got you crying, baby, that's not smooth. The chaos and the violence, baby, that's not cool. Don't you fall from grace. No way. My love, don't give your heart away. No way. A wise man used to say, if she's amazing, she won't be easy. Tell me that's not true. 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 Better you build a bridge than instead of you build a wall. Better to love and last than to never have loved at all. Better to do today than instead of you putting it off. Tomorrow not sure and that is for sure, so better you give it to all. Better you stand up and better you get up and rise whenever you fall. Better you smile instead of you cry, and even better you laugh. Embarrassment better than girls pain, no friends, so better you fall. Anything better than hungry, wisdom better than smart. Better than go bother go like them talk, 'cause I bet when you check it them soft. All of them bad and a buck like a bull, but I bet when you check is a car. Real is better than fraud, freedom better than bad. Gold is better than bronze, bronze is better than brass. Health is better than well done, peace is better than war. Now is better than later, the present is better than past. Prevention better than cure, and long life better than fast. Question better than answer, better your answer, this and me ask.
My God, it's DJ Price is Right.
Mark Anthony.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Will Smith. Haciendo historia.
Tú quieres algo y se te ve. Aquí hay ambiente pa' ahora y pa' después. Ya tú probaste la otra vez. Por eso sabes que tú estás rico. Estás rico. Estás rico. Tú sabes que tú estás rico. Estás rico. Esto está rico. Tú sabes que tú estás rico.
Hola, yeah, it's the Prince. In the unmarked car with the tents. Mark Anthony with the new anthem. Yeah, I know, it's a little intense. Ferragamo on the collar, we gon' mash your throttle in Miami Harbor. Girl, you want me like a shadow. You make a move, make it matter. Hey now, well I guess we can play now. Blend my Philly way now, with your Latina sway now. Sacuda tu cadera, always taking pictures, laughing, blowing kisses. I think you're delicious. Mark, what this says?
Está rico, está rico, está rico. Tú sabes que esto está rico. Está rico, esto está rico. Tú sabes.
El Catof, El Biladi.
En el barrio y en favela, mi nena muy mala. Si te metes en mi business, ella te dispara. Mala, 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 mala. Placa, 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 placa. En el barrio y en favela, mi nena muy mala. Si te metes en mi business, ella te dispara. Mala, 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 mala. Placa, 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 placa. 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 Placa, 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 placa.
If you let shit slide, ain't bad if you gotta ride. Big guns and a lot of zip ties. Said she look like me, quit lying. Don't stop, 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 don't stop. We gon' spin and kill. Deep. And tellin' on. We gon' spin and kill. Deep. And tellin' on.
What up? It's the Black Bottle Boss, Ricky Rose. Right now you rocking with the hottest DJ in the city.
Have you seen her on the dance floor? She got the boom, shake the room. That's the lightning and the thunder. You wanna meet her, you wanna touch her. See the light in her eyes, and it starts to make you wonder. Sexy girls in the party, go and grab a man, bring him to the dance floor. Go and let them teens look you while you dancing. It's his birthday, give him what he asked for. Let me show you how to do it. Big booty, but you got a big booty. Work. Big booty, but you got a big booty. Shake that. Big booty, but you got a big booty.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
DJ Price is right.
Look, yo, it's Skrillex. MC Lan, Troy Boy, dai dólar. E ele? Look, Herbert Richards. Vai, maloqueira, vai representa. Vai, maloqueira, vai representa. Oi, senta que senta que senta que senta que senta que senta que senta. Oi, senta que senta que senta que senta que senta que senta que senta.
Vai, maloqueira, vai representa. Vai, maloqueira, vai representa. Senta que senta que senta que senta que senta que senta que senta. Ai, senta que senta que senta que senta que senta que senta que senta.
Booty shake, come on, lady. Todas as meninas vai flexionando, jogando a bundinha pra trás e pra frente. Booty shake, come on, lady. Joga essa bunda encostando na tampa, vai joga essa bunda encostando na gente, porra. Booty shake, come on, lady. Hoje você vai sentar pro patrão e logo depois vai sentar pro gerente, porra. Booty shake, come on, lady. Depois de brasadas vai soltar fumaça porque hoje nós tá numa mudar diferente, então.
Booty shakes, come on, baby. Back it up, back it up, back it up on me now. Drop it down, all the way to the ground. Tucking that thing in his place. Ay, I bet that you can do that on a dick. Left to the right, to the left, to the right cheek. I wanna knock it down, I wanna pipe it.
Okay, we are about to welcome Igor in for 11 o'clock. I'm going to text him. Whoa, that's nice. I always think about the people that have always think about the people that have gotten married on the 21st night or something. I'm like, that's a good date. You literally have your own theme song if you get married on the 21st night of September. Igor, he is a phenomenal, or has been a extraordinary resource for myself and just learning science and stuff like that. So I'm excited to get into it with him. And we'll just chill here until Igor pops in. And actually, I'll show everyone something. B, if you want to share my screen on the program, I will show people.
Yes, please bring up the Zoom or have it ready.
Yep, I can bring up this. Wait, can you not? Wait, I'm gonna my screen off. Don't get nervous. I'm just getting the link so not everyone sees my whole life. As much as everyone
This is
already
Teach a Man How to Fish Producing.
One thing you will know about us at Frequency Friday is we set the right frequency. You have to have good music. Good music is the key to a good life, I swear to you. It's like a hidden hack. You should ask my family how I am at like when I get up in the morning. I literally am bumping music. I feel bad for my neighbors. It could be 4 a.m. Price, and if I'm getting up, it's the Calabria. As soon as my feet hit the ground, I'm like, I'm alive, baby, I'm alive. Thank God, for real. It's those little moments. Every day. We talked about it last week with Bryce. We talked about it last week, the gratitude aspect, and I think a lot of people miss that, but
yeah, because they don't realize that all these moments add up to a lifetime. So that's yeah.
I mean, that's literally compound
this-
interest at its finest.
that's
That
a
is the
fact.
definite. Hey, it's not just a stock. It's not just for investing.
Yeah.
It's like life shit. You're
Yeah,
right.
just-
all the moments add up to a lifetime.
That's what it is. It ain't the money.
What
It
the
ain't
kids would say. Period.
Facts.
B, how is it looking on your side with the screen? Oh, I'm sorry, voice of God.
No, Ego don't want to come in on this, so I gotta get some more PG-13.
He is like 74.
hold on, let's say this.
Taylor, you can see behind you what it looks like.
I love it. It's sick.
This might be his speed a little bit more.
More him. He actually is. He does tango.
Tango?
He's a tango
Wait,
guy.
I wear tango, all right.
Yeah, he's a tango
Let's
guy.
see.
He's really big into the tango.
Yeah?
Yeah,
All right,
that's
let me
like
see
his
what I
one
got.
thing he does every week, tango.
So you know he alive for real, then. If you could tango.
He is.
Yeah, if you could tango,
He is a lot. He's being alive and well.
that's what I'm saying. Tango is not for the faint of heart.
Oof.
That's
He
some
actually
real-
has a whole article he did and like relating it to energy exchange and how the best like tango dances.
Yeah.
It's like one fluid movement instead of like two separate pieces. It should
Right.
feel like
It's flowing.
yeah, it's a flow.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can't fake tango.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not like doing
You
a
get
two-step.
exposed.
Yeah, that's not this.
It's not some Jersey Shore fist bump.
Yeah, no humming. That's like, you gotta know.
That's hilarious. Yeah, so Igor, we'll introduce Igor and we'll get into it for 11, almost that time. Oh, but what I was saying, the rice experiment. Let me show you. So this is the rice experiment. B is the screen on the program. So this is what we will be doing for our experiment. We will be labeling 3 jars of rice: ignore, love, and hate. And we are going to explore how every day I am going to talk loving words, talk hateful, and ignore each jar with intention for at least 30 seconds to a minute. And at the end of at least 2 weeks, we will see how the rice looks. I have seen stuff like this, which is freaking crazy, that the hate jar actually looks and is more moldy and filled with bacteria opposed to the love jars, even though I would not eat either after 2 weeks. But the visual is the point. So Igor should be coming on. He's got 2 minutes. He was a professor, so like he's an on-time guy. And Igor actually has a fascinating background. And we won't dive too much into it because he will be on in the future. But he is going to educate us about his thoughts on the mind. There he is. Okay, Igor, we are going to do a sound test first. Okay. Oh, wait, I know what's going on. Hold on, Igor. We are live testing right now. Let me turn this off. Let me put my sound on. Oh, I still hear it. Hold on, Igor. Where is that? Oh, is it here? It should be there. Okay, now we should be good. Oh wait, I still hear it. Okay, time out now. Sorry, Igor, I hear something in the background. Sorry, we're doing it's a live test. Everyone is seeing live just how this works. But hold on, I hear something. We hear our clicker board. I still hear it. Where is that coming from? I gotta shut down all the tabs.
You're right, it's coming from the clicker board.
Yeah. I don't know why. Oh, I got it. Okay, I think we're good. Hold up. All right, I'm going back, sharing screen. You should be able to see me. Igor, this is the set. I think I can hear you. Go ahead, talk.
Okay, can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you. Let me put your volume on my computer.
Yeah, because I hear an echo.
An echo. Okay, how about now? You see yourself really big on the big screen?
Right now, yeah, I see the guy, so it looks familiar.
Is he a familiar face? So everyone, after our little technical difficulties, we are back, we're live. We have our guest here, it's Dr. Igor Nazarov, and I'm going to introduce him. He's got a long list of things here. He doesn't want me to say any of this, but I'm gonna say it all. He has a PhD in chemical physics, accurate. You are familiar with nuclear physics, molecular biophysics, and you got that all from Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology, where you happen to be also a former assistant dean there. You could, tell us a little bit if you want about that experience and whatever, but you've published over 30 scientific papers spanning all different topics, but mostly related to energy, subtle energies, the invisible layer of life, if you will, that permeates the visible. And we today, for the next maybe 20 minutes, are going to dive into the mind. And I want to hear from your background, from your experience, how you think about the mind, the brain, consciousness, and we're going to dive into it. Everyone on the stream is, ready preface, this is not for the faint of heart. You need to come in with an open mind and be curious. So that's the preface for this conversation. But the topic of today is the mind, and that's why Igor is supporting us today, and our science guest and our science segment guest. So Igor, say hello, and if you want to say a little bit about yourself or not, but we could dive right into it. I'm happy. I have a million questions for you. Get to it.
Hello to everyone. So, it sounds impressive.
I'm sorry, we can't hear Igor.
You can't hear Igor.
You can't hear me?
How? Okay, B, how are we going to do this? Because I have my mic here. But if I play him through the speaker, then it's an echo.
No, we need you to change your audio to the TV. There we go. I think you just did it.
Yeah. Okay, go
Is
ahead.
it better?
There we go.
But go ahead. Can you talk?
Okay,
Igor?
can I go now?
Yes.
Yes, that
But
worked.
I'm not sure I can really hear. Okay,
Can
go
you?
ahead.
We can hear him.
Okay.
Can you hear him?
Okay. I just said that it's so interesting and impressive to listen about myself when somebody talks about it. So I don't have this impression that's all games of the mind. Um, since I belong to very highly accepted technical institution, Soviet MIT in the Soviet Union, at that time I thought that mind, and we had all these brilliant minds over there. It's how you calculate, how you see patterns, and how are you using your calculating abilities. But now, after many years past, I see this differently. And so, don't you mind to talk about the mind? And you see, even the language has an answer that mind is something else. What is it? How I see it now, it's nothing but the filter. Filter how our consciousness, which is actually higher than our mind, gets enough awareness of its own existence. So mind is a filter. Why is it a filter? Because if we are
Put the music
in
up.
the
Can you
environment,
sorry, Igor,
so-
1 second. Can you just put him up a little bit in here so I can hear him better? I'm sorry.
Okay, so what's happening? So we live in the environment, and so we see, we hear, we touch, and that's all sensory system. And how many bits of information we're getting per second? According to neuroscience, it's about 11 million bits per second. And 90% coming through our eye. That's our major channel of getting information. But then the neuroscience answer another question. So how many bits of information our consciousness digests per second? Only from what it took 50. So you see the difference almost 1 million times. And so our brain, which is part of our mind, right, cannot process all the environmental information. That's why it creates filtering. And so depending how your filter works, that's the definition how your mind works. And so your mind is programmed from your very first day of the conscious existence. By culture, language, we started with language and everything like that. But then you have a choice to work on your mind, to put more sensory inputs into there. And then you can change your filter. But environment goes first because 11 million of bits per second of information prevailing. Let's have another question about this.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, so before you hopped on, we were talking about the mind, and I brought up, I think I might have mentioned it to you, the telepathy tapes. It was an account of the nonverbal community and how this researcher found that people that are nonverbal actually have telepathy at a very heightened sense, to the fact where a mother was reading a book and her nonverbal child was able to recount the exact sentences. Like the child was basically using her mother's sensory systems for herself, and able to, another child knew what the mother did the whole day, and she was out of the house. She's like, you went shopping, you went here, you bought this. And my question to you is, those are documented experiences, and something that was just released a year or two ago, and it like kind of went mainstream. Joe Rogan had the woman on who was the researcher for this. But how can that be possible? How can the mind do that? And can everyone do that? How does that work?
You've been interrupted, probably bandwidth is not good. But, okay, so telepathy. So do you consider it's mind? I don't. What's telepathy? It's another sensory system. We all have this, but mind prevails because mind has enough of information now. And so, yeah, for mind just cuts off your telepathy. When you're a child, you're just coming into this world, your natural ability to have telepathy is there. But then you are educated, quote unquote. So what's education? Cutting off the noise. And telepathy considered to be noise. Actually, it's intrinsic sense, which is you can work on, and we all can actually develop it. But technological society does not need it, because you can open your smartphone and ask any question, and Google will answer you. And so why you would need telepathy, right?
I mean, I would argue that telepathy is like a way better AI, because the telepathy aspect for me, you're like able to access information from all time periods, from anyone, from any experience, by channeling into that radio station. So yes, like the difference that I would see in like how I am like, okay, nature, is because I feel like our minds would get a lot different and better information from something natural like tapping into consciousness versus a programmed AI that is trained on a certain model. You know, I mean, AI on the flip side, it could give us all the answers, but we have to know that not everything AI says is true is true.
Yeah, exactly. So you described it beautifully. Telepathy, it's how our consciousness communicates through different bodies or through different areas. But what we do with our mind, so in this particular era of the human development, we work on our intellectual ability to process information coming from, including telepathy. And so we're just working on a language, how I explain it, but we're losing each other with this dirty water of processing information. And of course, the natural way to have telepathy both as the intellectual ability to process what it is. But because it's too difficult for our mind on this stage, so we just prefer it doesn't exist. It's not scientifically proven. So what's proven? All the information that you can find in a textbook, all information you can use to create machinery, right? Beforehand, like many years ago, people didn't use any machinery, but they used telepathy. Maybe they used another system for building things. But that's our technological era. We have to be aware about it.
So it's all connected and all obviously evolution, in the sense that you also related it to a human's lifespan, where like a child comes in to the world with all like the most heightened senses in terms of telepathy and other senses beyond the 6 or 7 or 6 that we're familiar with. There's 30 plus, I've heard, senses that the human is actually has capabilities of receiving signals from. Based on what you just said, we're receiving over 11 million signals per minute at once. Is that what you said, right?
Yeah, so but let's get back to mind. For example, probably you remember the movie Good Will Hunting.
Yes.
Like a guy who was as a janitor at MIT was capable of solving amazing mathematical tasks. It's a brilliant mind, right? But again, in the same movie, his relationship with other people, his actually dumb behavior in society, his dumb behavior with his girlfriend, said that there are different types of mind. And so we're worship mathematicians, we're worship physicians, physicists, but what about other skills? And as you said, because we cut off the sensory system because of the educational system which we're getting it as kids into the kindergarten, school, everything, they are programmed a particular way. And then we have filtering of our mind, disregarding very important things. If we're aware of that, we can probably change it. Which way? So not readjusting the filter, but changing the environment we live in. You can go to the war and kill other people. That would be one environment, or you can create a peaceful environment where we use our creative things, not destroying abilities, to do something new.
It's actually funny that you mentioned that. There is a book that I stumbled into. It's called Nurturing Healing Love, and it's by a mom, and her name is Scarlett Lewis, and she lost her 7-year-old son, Jesse Lewis, in the Sandy Hook elementary shootings in Connecticut. One of her her child passed away, Jesse. And she wrote this story about, it's called Nurturing Healing Love, because shortly after Jesse had passed, she found on the chalkboard that he wrote Nurturing Healing Love, and he was 7 years old. How did he really embody this? And the whole story, I'll bring the book, kind of accounts that she moved from a place of like resentment and hate, obviously, but she moved into a place where no gun law would have changed that situation, but instead, what she believes would have changed that situation is more love, more empathy, more kindness, more compassion. So she created a whole movement called the Choose Love movement, and she teaches a curriculum to kids from preschool, I think, to high school, and she has all these different, basically it's based on those values: compassion, kindness, love, and a few others, gratitude, to instill in children and in people that this is the environment that could create loving lights for the world in such a tragic situation. But to your point, it's how you choose to move forward with the experiences you've been a part of. Obviously, not everyone that was impacted that day thinks how Scarlett does and thinks in that light, but she chose to take that situation and move it into a loving place where she could show others a path of potentially that could be more fulfilling to prevent situations like that. But it's correlated to the environment, and that's a little rant, but I have a question for you, unless you have something to say on this.
Yeah, I do agree. I do agree. So we have a power to create our environment. Definitely not without a fight with the forces which would prevent us do so, right? But if you follow Buddhism, so do not fight the evil with violence, right? If you follow Leo Tolstoy, Russian writer, about who spent a lot of time in the war, so helping people as a doctor, he saw it with his own eyes. So it's not the solution, because violence creates another violence, so it's an endless road. But to counteract it, we're supposed to use something creative based on love, passion, compassion, empathy, everything like that.
It jumps into my next, the last topic that we'll get into, on consciousness. What is your perspective and your thoughts on consciousness, and how do you see that word as you are right now? Because I feel like your thought and your thinking has evolved and taken so many different chapters in life.
You see, basically, consciously, we live only probably for 1%. All our life is behind the curtains, unconscious, subconscious, overconscious, but we work on our consciousness. So as we understand that we can consciously work on expanding our subconscious mind to bring something beautiful into this life. So that's the first huge leap forward, because beforehand we live automatically, like the majority of nature. It's just automatic, God's created mechanism which evolves very slowly. But with 1% of our conscious mind and our consciousness brought into this life so we can do changes, very important changes, expand our consciousness to create more passion, more love, more creation, beautiful creation in the world, along with nature. Be a mirror for the nature of its beauty, not just trying to destroy ourselves. We are very close to it, by the way.
I don't know how much I agree with it, but it's why people like Elon Musk are trying to go to Mars. We're ruining what we have here. I mean, but I think there's opportunity for people like us and the people we surround ourselves with to create those shifts that, you know, maybe there's a, I'm a, not a hopeless, but I'm definitely an optimist, and I will die on the optimism hill over the pessimism. But I have another segue into now your thoughts on like manifestation. It will be the last kind of topic. You've expressed a lot of really interesting insights that we can unpack in the coming Fridays, but I think manifestation specifically has been a word over at least the past couple decades that has moved into a mystical sense, and maybe that's the foundations of the word and like where that word comes from. But I think there is science behind manifestation, and not in the woo-woo or mystical sense, but in true physics, when we talk about using energy, and like when we talk about quantum and the small tiny molecules that make an impact, like your thoughts, and then how that can impact matter. So when we talk about manifestation, what are your insights? What are your perspectives? Do you believe in it? Is there science behind it?
There is no need to believe in that, so you're supposed to use it, because every human being is a very powerful instrument of God. So we were created according to the Bible in the image of God, which means that we have all attributes. This high supernatural something which created all the universe, including us, possessed. And one of this possession is the manifestation, which is called in theosophical, anthroposophical books as will. Will. So will as an intent.
Like W-I-L-L.
So mechanical, we have to use it to change the world, of course. The more people involved, the more powerful we are.
Will, like W-I-L-L.
Yes.
So,
what?
so that is linked to then intention, right? Like your intention has a huge part.
I can say, so I wish this to be here on my table. It won't work, right? But that's how we were created. Some higher entities were willing us to be created this way. And so here we're talking to each other.
And that I have a whole, I wrote something once on coincidence. I don't believe in coincidence, because I think on a fundamental level, whatever's orchestrating life to have those automatic processes, like how a tree grows and how mushrooms come and go and how they are a part of the forest and all of that, in that same light, there's something orchestrating connections to be made that matter and should have purpose, whether that's someone you see in a grocery store line and you were just supposed to smile at them and it made their day, or you meet a new friend. I mean, like, I walked in here a couple months ago, I ran into this, our DJ Price here, who's been playing music, and I never would have thought of like having a friendship like that with someone. So I don't think, anything is a coincidence. It's all for a purpose, and there's a reason and a meaning behind every interaction and every experience that we are blessed, like you said, instruments of God to be a part of. And it's fascinating that you're a science guy and you come from a science background, but you don't believe in the Big Bang? I'm kidding. Rhetorical question. I don't want to get you canceled.
You see, I just can repeat the answer of one of Hindu gurus when he was asked about the Big Bang. And he said, yeah, it's interesting. There were so many of big bangs in our universe. You see, it's for one particular closed volume, so we have bangs every day, everywhere, right? But that it began from nothing and then created something like it's in the cosmology books. Um, the only entity, let's call it this way, which can create something from nothing is God. And we, the entities created in the image of that, also can do that. AI cannot do something from nothing. It's just combining the information we humans created through our history, right?
Yeah, AI is just connecting the dots. It's not creating the dots. I think that's a huge distinction. And I think that's where the line is between like the artificial and the natural. Is the natural you see, it recovers on its own. It survives, it thrives within its own ecosystem. Whereas something artificial it doesn't thrive in the same way. There's not the same zest and zeal and light of life, obviously, because it's artificial.
Yeah, because it's our co-product. What we humans do, we create tools, instruments. And as you know, having wars as an example, so any knife could be used as a weapon to make your dinner and then to
do whatever you would need to do.
Different, right?
Protect yourself, or cut a branch off a tree to start a fire. You're right. It could be used as a blessing or a curse. Any lasting thoughts,
That's
Igor, on the mind? Anything that you would want to share? We're all about shifting perspectives here, so anything you have to share, want to share?
So I see what you're doing and I love it. So the more people would be talking about these subjects, the better. And I see that you're getting out of box. So posing question, that's a first step to go further. Good luck with your journey.
Ask questions, and I think those questions will lead you down some very mind-blowing, if you will, and fascinating topics if you have the open-mindedness to have your mind shifted and transformed. Thank you so much, Igor, for spending a little bit of our morning together. We will see you again next Friday, maybe. We'll have our meeting. We might have to shift our meeting time because we're Frequency Fridays now. So look at our set, though. Look at our set, though. So that's DJ Price. And then this is like everyone seeing the behind the scenes.
It's fascinating.
And this is our huge screen that you're on, that your beautiful face is on.
Yeah, I see. So I like it.
We need more of that, please.
Next time I'm in New York or New Jersey, I'll visit you.
When you are here and your toes touch the border of New York or New Jersey, your butt will be right next to us, and we'll dive into everything. This is just skimming the surface. I don't even think we didn't even dive deep. We didn't take a plunge, but we'll explore as the days come and the graces of God and the universe hopefully bless us with another day and another way to connect in the future. So thank you, Igor. I appreciate you. We will see you next week. Good morning. Have a great day. Peace. I always end my meetings with peace instead of bye. I hate the word bye. I feel like bye is so, I don't know, I don't like it. It's ending, and I don't like end. Okay, so that was Igor. He gave us a little perspective on the mind. Now we are going to give us like maybe 10 minutes-ish, we are going to start the rice, and we are going to get you into the kitchen because that's where we're going to do the rice. We're going to boil the rice, and then we're going to start the rice experiment, and we will walk everyone through that. So reconvene in like 5-10. So go get a bathroom break. Go tell your friends that we're about to do the experiment if they want to watch us.
Can we get that cool information board?
Cool information board coming up.
tu descendencia entera. ¿Por qué? porque ella me da la mamá de 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 la mamita que está tan rica, si pega los dientes como abuelita. Mamita que está tan rica, si pega los dientes como abuelita. La mamá de 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 la mamá. Chiquiri bang bang, chiquiri bang bang bang, con la boca ya me lleva pa' tu bang bang. Chiquiri bang bang, chiquiri bang bang bang, con la boca ya me lleva pa' tu bang bang. Dale al teteo y chúpame la tetera, cuando ya lo mueve toda la vaina se me altera. La grasa, el piquete pasado de lo que era, atento a cotorra me la llevo pa' donde quiera. De ti me gusta todo, moviendo la chapa mamita todo. El corito contigo a mí me ha gustado, la mujer de mi vida la que yo he mamado. Tú eres la mujer que más mamao, nunca me ha pegado los dientes. De la mamá 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 de la mamá. Mamá Juana, mamadora, tata de los cheques, es abusadora. Mamá Juana, mamadora, tata de los cheques, es abusadora.
Whoopty, I'm on the awesome movie. Pull up on your bitch in the two-seat. Yeah. Dale, mommy, she see the ice and she wanna party. Yeah. Dale, mommy, she see the ice and she wanna party. She like, ay papi, ay, ay papi, ay. You see me, you stop me, ay. I see you, I chop it. Diablo, mami, qué culazo.
My God, it's DJ Price's Right.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
DJ accomplish his favorite song, 'cause she needs to feel it. Pull up and feel it. She need a real selector. DJ accomplish his favorite song. DJ accomplish his favorite song. DJ accomplish his favorite song. DJ. Rum pa pa pam 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 pa pa pam 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 pa pa pam 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 pa pa pam 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 pa pa pam 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 pam.
The place select, place your order. Soundwave for dead, Sergeant Slaughter. Helicopter pad, mad maneuver. Rhythm kinda bad producer. Front line for the gal them, I'm in the corner. Start murking on the random in any order. Selector run it back, I'll feel a mover. Got the rum papa pum firing super.
What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? What's up? What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? What's up, what's up? What's up? What's up?
Rum pa pa pam 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 rum pa pa pam. DJ accomplish your favorite song. Say tam taka tam rum pa pa pam. DJ accomplish your favorite song.
Bend that ass over. Let that coochie breathe. Shake that ass, bitch. Hands on your knees. Hands on your knees. Hands on your knees. Shake that ass for Drake. Now shake that ass for me.
I still got some love deep inside of me. No need to lie to me. I know you got a guy. He's not a guy to me. Just say goodbye to him and take a ride to me. Ride to me. I still got some love deep inside of me. Please drag it out of me. You just might get that G-Wagon out of me. Please drag it out of me. Please drag it out. Rolly gang, patty gang, gang.
What's up,
Baby daddy gang.
What's up,
I'm
everybody?
with red like I'm
What's up,
Cincinnati gang.
What's up, everybody?
Good bitch tat a gang for she tat a name. Real bitch held me down before I had a name.
What's up,
Heard this
everybody?
money
It's the
on my
famous
head.
DJ
What is
Price
that to
is
me? I put 100 bands on him.
What's
He
up,
put a rack on me.
What's up,
We
everybody?
from two different
What's
worlds,
up,
but it's a match to me. The bend it over, only time she turn her back on me for real.
What's up, everybody? This is the world famous DJ Price is Right. If I'm not in London, Paris, Berlin, Hong Kong, Tokyo, Thailand, Amsterdam, I'm in NYC. So you know what time it is. Y'all rocking with the best. One.
O pato vinha cantando alegremente, quen, quen, quando o marreco sorridente pediu para entrar também no samba, no samba, no samba. O ganso gostou da dupla e fez também quen, quen, quen. Olhou pro cisne e disse assim, vem, vem, que um quarteto ficará bem, muito bom, muito bem. Na beira da lagoa foram ensaiar para começar o tico-tico no fubá. A voz do pato era mesmo desacato, jogo de cena com o ganso era mato. Mas eu gostei do final, quando caíram na água, ensaiando o vocal. Quen, 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 quen. O pato vinha cantando alegremente, quen, quen, quando o marreco sorridente pediu para entrar também no samba, no samba, no samba. O ganso gostou da dupla e fez também quen, quen, quen. Olhou pro cisne e disse assim, vem, vem, que um quarteto ficará bem, muito bom, muito bem. Na beira da lagoa foram ensaiar para começar o tico-tico no fubá. A voz do pato era mesmo desacato, jogo de cena com o ganso era mato. Mas eu gostei do final, quando caíram na água, ensaiando o vocal. Quen, 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 quen.
Dia de luz, festa de sol, um barquinho a deslizar no macio azul do mar. Tudo é verão, amor se faz num barquinho pelo mar que desliza sem parar. Sem intenção, nossa canção vai saindo deste mar e o sol beija o barco e luz, dias tão azuis. Volta do mar, desmaia o sol e o barquinho a deslizar e a vontade de cantar. Céu tão azul, ilhas do sul e o barquinho, coração deslizando na canção. Tudo isso é paz, tudo isso traz uma calma de verão. Então o barquinho vai, a tardinha cai. Do mar, desmaia o sol e o barquinho a deslizar e a vontade de cantar. Céu tão azul, ilhas do sul e o barquinho, coração deslizando na canção. Tudo isso é paz, tudo isso traz uma calma de verão. Então o barquinho vai, a tardinha cai. O barquinho vai, a tardinha cai. O barquinho.
Pode ser que haja uma melhor, pode ser que haja uma pior, muito bem, mas igual a Maria que eu tenho no mundo inteirinho, igualzinha não tem. Maria ninguém, é Maria e é Maria meu bem. Se eu não sou João de nada, Maria que é minha, é Maria ninguém. Maria ninguém, é Maria como as outras também. Só que tem que ainda é melhor do que muita Maria que há por aí. Marias tão frias, cheias de manias, Marias vazias pro nome que tem. Maria ninguém, é Maria e é Maria meu bem. Se eu não sou João de nada, Maria que é minha, é Maria ninguém. Maria ninguém. Maria ninguém, é um dom que muito homem não tem. Haja visto quanta gente que chama Maria e Maria não vem. Maria ninguém, é Maria e é Maria meu bem. Se eu não sou João de nada, Maria que é minha, é Maria ninguém. Maria ninguém, Maria ninguém.
É só eu sei quanto amor eu guardei sem saber que era só pra você. Só tinha de ser com você, havia de ser pra você. Se não era mais uma dor, se não, não seria o amor, aquele que a gente não vê. Amor que chegou para dar o que ninguém deu pra você. Amor que chegou para dar o que ninguém deu. É você que é feito de azul, me deixa morar nesse azul, me deixa encontrar minha paz. Você que é bonito demais. Se ao menos pudesse saber que eu sempre fui só de você, você sempre foi só de mim. É você que é feito de azul, me deixa morar nesse azul, me deixa encontrar minha paz. Você que é bonito demais. Se ao menos pudesse saber que eu sempre fui só de você, você sempre foi só de mim. Que eu sempre fui só de você, que você sempre foi só de mim. Que eu sempre fui só de você, você sempre foi só de mim. de você. Você sempre foi só de mim. Que eu sempre fui só de você. Que você sempre foi só de mim. Eu sempre fui só de você, que você sempre foi só de mim. Que eu sempre fui só de
These are live. We
So,
are back.
hello everyone.
We are about to do our experiment.
I
Jazz
made-
is whipping up the rice. You want to tell us what we're doing, Jazz? We got the
Yeah,
rice boiling.
so we are gonna do the love hate, and we are kind of adding our own little variable into the mix. Ignore we can leave in a corner here, I think.
Yes, we could.
And so right now we just
I'm going to pull up my screen so everyone could see kind of what we're
Behind.
doing. B, is this screen on Voice of God? Is the screen on program? Awesome. So this is what we are going to do here. So we are doing the rice experiment inspired by Dr. Masaru Emoto. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, sir. Please forgive me. He passed away. Please forgive me in the other dimension.
You could tell us.
So he basically claims that the human consciousness can affect the molecular structure. In this case, he is saying water. So he has this book here, The Hidden Messages of Water, which is a really great, awesome book. So we are actually going to put his theory to test. And like I said, over the course of 2 weeks, I'm going to take these home with me. And every day, I'm going to ignore this rice that we're going to put in here. I'm going to send loving thoughts to this jar of rice, and we are going to talk shit and be really mean to this jar of rice. And over the course of 2-3 weeks, we are going to see together what the rice shows us and see if our thoughts actually can impact matter. I've been wanting to do this for so long because I believe that our thoughts impact matter, but let's see for ourselves. So if you're at home and you want to do this yourself, you could boil some rice, cook some rice, and then put it into jars, label the jars love, hate, and ignore, and follow along. So this is essentially what will occur, hopefully. So you could see here that this guy was able to visually see how hate is obviously way more moldy than the love, and ignore is not as moldy as the hate, but it is definitely more moldy than the love. So this is what we're hoping to see in our experiment, but let's see. And for this to work, I think, we need to make sure that, back to what Dr. Igor was saying with intention and will, that is very important. So I'm really going to focus my intention on love, on hate, and ignore in order to create the outcome, hopefully, that
So we
this
just
experiment.
created our hate jar.
Our hate jar.
We're gonna do, so the biggest factor in this experiment that haters, skeptics, whatever you want to say, a hater being chat actually, Claude, sorry.
Claude, hater.
Hater shutting me down when we were talking earlier. And all I asked was to like really break down the, importance of like why we use rice in this experiment, because me having a food background, one of the biggest things, you take a test called the ServSafe test.
The ServSafe.
Yes, and it's a certification to serve safely.
Oh.
And you have to get an 85% or higher in order to pass. So there are people who take it like 10 times because you know.
There's like protocol to
Yeah.
food.
So one of the biggest things is you learn about foodborne illness and pathogens. And I had it pulled up, but the pathogen that occurs in rice when improperly handled during cooling is actually called Bacillus cereus. And there's a joke, like you take it very seriously because there are spores in rice. Potatoes and lentils are another conduit for the Bacillus cereus to occur. And the spores are able to harvest bacteria growth quickly and rapidly. So rice is used in this experiment because the bacteria growth is, it happens almost instantaneously. We are not going to chill this rice down properly. Therefore, you'll see. And another kind of like skeptic in this.
Don't let it cool.
I guess we'll let it cool a little bit more. It's kind of hot. I don't want the jar to explode. But
Excuse me.
Yes.
Can we label the tops as well, please?
Yes, we will.
Thank you.
We can do. So as we're gonna label the tops, because we don't want to just believe everything, let's also pull up. I have Perplexity up on my screen, and let's just look up rebuttals for Dr. Masaru Emoto water mind experiment scissor.
Yeah.
Should be underneath the knives and with the knives.
I had it earlier, and I just have displaced
I
it.
did see it.
Oh, that's on you.
Oh, God,
Voice
it's
of God
so
is
rude.
yelling.
God is
The
not
chef,
a woman.
Hospitality,
There we go.
misplaced. Voice of God delivered us from the ethers. So here on Perplexity, where obviously this is an AI model, okay? So take that with a grain of salt, but Dr. Masaru Emoto's claims is not established by science, it's saying. Strong rebuttals. The outcome is subjective. Photo selection bias is a major confound. Interesting. So obviously you're going to see live video of how these are going to transform over the course of our next few Frequency Fridays. So we'll see that together.
Wait, can you give us the 10-year-old on that one?
Yes. So essentially what we're going to see is some people think that obviously here it says strong rebuttals to this experiment. Photo selection bias, meaning that people have bias in the pictures they're taking. So the pictures that they're taking at certain points to basically push this experiment into what they want it to show, what they want it to be. So we're not going to take that approach, which is why we're doing this live on video so everyone can see. And every Friday, you are going to visually see with us on video how the rice has transformed from that past week. So there won't be any selection bias because we're doing it live together and everyone can witness it for themselves. We have nothing to hide. That's why I even looked up in Perplexity, what are the rebuttals for this? So, everyone can just get a holistic perspective on what that is. I hate this when science says there is no credible mechanism offered, as if we need to know the why behind everything. That's our goal. We want to get to the why, but just because we can't understand the mechanism or our words or science is not caught up yet to that mechanism does not mean it's not true or can't be done or doesn't have an impact. So it pisses me off when people say that one of the rebuttals is there's no credible mechanisms, because sometimes we don't always know how something functions. We just know it functions, and then we develop the science and the research to show us the how as later on after it's been developed.
So we have our hate, love, and ignore. I guess we can talk some shit to this rice. It's disgusting looking.
Yeah. So this is what the hate.
They are all equally poor. Oh, that's the other thing. So it's some controls that people tend to keep in this experiment are equal amounts of rice, it was all cooked at one time, at the same time.
Same rice.
The same batch of rice. It was all used with the same materials. The jars have been sterilized. The tightness level of the jar will all be equivalent to the best of within a range. So again, we're not trying to facilitate any bias right now. You will see, we will see. We have no idea how this is gonna turn out, but right now we're just trying to keep everything as controlled as possible so that we can genuinely have an outcome. So this is our ugly, hateful rice.
And we're going to, right after this, actually, I guess, should I do it right now? But I really want to have intent while I talk to us.
No. We will close the jars. I think you should
Close them on cam? Or what?
No, they're still pretty hot. I don't want the jars to blow up yet.
So I promise, right after we end our live in a few minutes,
we'll take a video to
we'll take a video once we close these up, and then a video of me talking to the jars. Obviously in my head, I'm not gonna say, do you say it out loud?
I mean, you speak to it.
Yeah,
and we also want to isolate the jars from one another just in case, we don't know how intense the vibrations of hate can be towards a specific jar.
Moved. We'll move them.
So we'll do it separately. And again, we're in the discovery process.
Experiment.
Can you give us some examples though? Can you give us a few
Here are some examples, as in rice
of
experiments
what we'll say.
before.
Yeah, do you put your mouth right in the jar?
Oh yeah.
So
no,
you don't speak into
talk
it like
to the rice.
You don't. So yeah, we'll cap it, and then essentially you hold it in your hands, and then you can close your eyes or not, and then you speak to the jar. I fucking hate you. You're fat. You're ugly. That kind of really mean stuff.
Rice shaming.
Rice shaming.
Rice shame. But then we love on the rice. You're beautiful.
That one's
we love
gorgy.
you. And really foster the will and the intent within yourself when you are talking to the jars. But yeah, you just hold it in your hand and you don't have to.
I really tried to keep a neutral perspective while I was cooking the rice, just in case that kind of plays into it as well, and that's a control. I was the only one to cook the rice. I cooked all the rice. We had some bossa nova playing. You guys were here. You watched the rice cook if you've been with us since the beginning. You can go back, watch the rice cook. I don't want any haters in the frickin' building.
If you're gonna hate,
look,
just
we're pulling it
take
up.
it to the side. So this is it for our first Frequency Friday. We had our special guest, Dr. Igor Nazarov, on. We will list some of his publications and more info on what he is up to. We'll also link some documents to the rice experiment so that you could follow along at home. And next week we're gonna have some really fun, exciting stuff, but don't forget, every week we're gonna be doing experiments, we're gonna be diving into things. We also had DJ Prices right here with some incredible music for us, and it was a really special day. And as you can see, always shout out to Barth. We love your hats, we love your style, we love your stuff. Barth,
Shout
keep
out
shining.
Comedy Social.
Shout out to Comedy Social.
Everyone come out to Cape Cod August 23rd if you can make it. It's a Sunday.
Woo-hoo.
It's gonna be lit. I'll be there.
And then we have coming dates for New York City Comedy Social event, so stay tuned to that. We're actually going to have comics on Frequency Fridays, so stay tuned to that for a little laugh.
Taylor. Two things. Isn't this our second episode?
This is our second episode, sorry. Our second episode, not our first.
Can you please bring up the Comedy Social website? Yeah, there we go.
Comedy Social. Comedy-social.
Comedy-social, live unscripted comedy. I'm gonna show you our Instagram so that everyone can see what the vibe is on the gram.
Shout out Justin, shout out Dan,
Justin.
shout out Diego. We love you
Justin,
guys.
Dan, Diego, shout out. Yeah, we're cooking here. Go, if you want to laugh, go to our Instagram and just watch some of our videos, and you're going to get a chuckle because we think people need to laugh more in this world. We cannot be so serious. We need to just live in light, live in love. So thank you for joining us for our second Frequency Friday. Tune back in next week, and peace,
Shout
love.
out Summit 68.
Shout out Summit 68 for hosting us. Shout out to Flora Jazz for the beautiful flowers, for the tea, for being hospitable, as always, for making the rice, for helping
Shout out to
everything run
Nature's Fuel, Plant
smoothly.
Spray.
Yeah, shout out to Nature's Fuel, Plant Spray, helping the plants live, thrive, survive. Shout out to Up Your Game. Shout out to all the things. We'll get into everything, but thank you for joining us, and we'll tune in next week. Thank you. Peace.
Balança com jeito, balança no olhar, balança pedindo pra eu balançar, balança no tempo, balança no andar. Vai o potopolo, petápulo, papai, balança essa bossa que vem de você, balança o balanço que mora em você, balança isso tudo que nem sei. De repente eu balancei.